Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Short Box Podcast.
The Short Box Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
That's a good little warm-up. Good little warm-up. Let's get this thing started. Let me go to my actual notes, because I need to be reminded how to intro the show.
It's not memorized.
Yeah.
Burnt in your brain by now. Yeah, line.
I think I could deliver that a little better. All right, here we go. Yo, Shortbox Podcast. What am I doing? Shortbox Nation. Welcome back to the podcast. See what I'm saying?
Wow.
I need my script.
Yeah, line.
Who put a question mark on the prompter?
Wow.
Line. All right. Shortbox Nation, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for being here. If you're new to the show, welcome. This is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show that brings you the best conversations about comics and pop culture inspired by them. This is episode 403, and my name is Botter. I'm reporting to you live from Shortbox HQ here in, it's kind of gloomy today, gloomy Jacksonville, Florida. Still humid as hell, though. And in the studio with me on mic number 2 is the special Edmund Danzart.
What's up?
What up, Ed? Making your first season, what are we, season 9? Season 9?
Oh,
season 9 appearance.
Is this a season premiere?
No. Season premiere was 2 episodes ago, 401.
I have no
We're
idea.
a little late on that one.
I wasn't here. Was I here?
True. No. It was an interview episode. So no
My
fault to
season
you.
premiere.
Yeah.
My debut.
Man, come on. Ed's season premiere. For whatever season number one.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, where you guys all show up at? Yeah. Ed's season 9 premiere. And on mic number 3, we got a good friend of the show at that, Chris Hacker from the Living Bar podcast back on the pod.
Duval.
Oh, wow.
Could have used a little work on that
Regional.
delivery.
Sorry, I tried. I'm from the Midwest, everybody. I can't. I don't have it.
That's exactly how a Midwest.
It's a polite, nice,
Duval.
Duval.
Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah. Duval, y'all. Hello, everyone.
Listeners, as you can tell, we're in a great mood. We're recording on Friday evening. So it's a celebratory vibe right now. Everyone's just finished a hard, work week. We popped a couple of drinks.
Yep.
Got what is that? We got some ranch waters. We got some mamitas. What you sipping on, Chris?
I'm drinking an Alani Nu Kim 8. This is the Kim Kardashian version of the Alani Nu. And I bet you're probably thinking, Chris, why the hell are you drinking a Kardashian Alani Nu? You're
Endorsement?
a 32-year-old white male in the Midwest. They taste good. I don't know. They just give me that little something that I need every time that I'll tell you right now, Alani Nu, if you're listening right now, and I know that you are, please reach out to us at the Oblivion Bar Podcast because you have been the lifeblood of our show since 2021.
I might try this out. What's this called?
It's good. It's called Alani Nu, ALANINU.
So it's probably better than the gas station Bahama Mama I had before coming here.
Probably.
They market to the 22-year-old, influencer white chick that usually, like that's what their target audience is. But, it's for everybody. I like to believe
it,
so.
It's for the people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alani Nu is for the people. That's right. Just like Wu-Tang.
Oh, you saw the shirt? You saw the shirt? Right. There we go. Got it at the concert this past weekend. We got an easy mission today. Today we'll be recapping some recent comic news and announcements from this past month. So we're taking one last look at the month of September and all the different developments and the things that have happened in the comic industry before we, finally move into the spooky season. All right, we're looking at September and seeing all the different news. What, that wasn't a good spooky one? Are you over spooky season?
No, I didn't know we were doing.
We
that
call it
again.
spoopy season over at the Oblivion Bar.
Spoopy.
What is that supposed to mean?
That's another cute word for spooky that I don't understand.
Guys, it's the Kim-Aid. Sorry, it's the Kim-Aid.
I don't understand.
Ignore me. Keep going, Bob. I apologize.
Chris is in tune with it all, man. He's got all the lingo.
His finger on the pulse.
Yes,
that's culture.
I keep up with the teeny boppers. What can I say? It's the algorithm on TikTok, I think.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about today. Take it away, John Stewart. What do we got?
We've got things to talk about.
And if you're looking for a specific topic, I highly suggest you check out the timestamps listed in this episode's show notes. Or you'll also find a link to the video version of this podcast. So if you're someone that likes to watch your podcast as you listen to them, we got it on YouTube. Now, before we take off into the main event and get to talking about the comic news and developments and all these headlines going on, let me take a quick minute to shout out all of my New York peeps, all right? Specifically, all of our listeners in New York and our listeners planning to attend at New York Comic Con this year. Maybe I should have been more specific about that because there's some people that are probably in New York right now. They're like, I do not fuck with New York Comic Con. It's too crazy. So to our listeners that are planning to attend
the tourists,
New York Comic, exactly. That's probably how they're acting. But to our listeners that are planning to attend New York Comic Con, I'd like to go ahead and make the formal announcement on the podcast that your boy is going to be at New York Comic Con.
Hey.
All right. Bucket list item. All right. And I mean this too. Like going to New York Comic Con has been a bucket list item for me since, starting this podcast. Not only am I going to be at New York Comic Con with Drew and Blake, who you guys heard on the Heroes Con recap episode, but your boy also gets to do a panel. All right.
You spend all day on the phone anyhow.
I pressed it wrong.
As a longtime listener of the Short Box, I feel like that happens once an episode.
Look, you spent all day on the phone anyhow.
Smooth sailing.
Buy your tickets to New York Comic Con right now to catch me at the panel. No, we got a panel. It is called The Awesome Power of Comic Book Podcast and How You Can Start One Yourself. It's taking place the Saturday of the convention from 6 to 7 p.m. They gave us the late night spot.
Midnight run at New York Comic Con.
I got to cut my teeth. First. I get it. I'm going to take what I can, all right?
That's an all-star lineup, too, right?
Yo, come on, man. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the power of podcasting in the comic book space. And not only am I going to be hosting it, but I've got Chris Hacker on the panel as well.
Hey, I heard about this panel. This sounds pretty awesome. And, Botter, while we're on the topic, if you don't mind, I don't mean to
it's not even my show. Ed, it's not my show. I'm here for Chris.
I'm sorry.
Are we on his show?
Take it away, Chris. I'm kicking my feet up today.
I just want to ask. Let's do a quick brainstorm while we're on the topic, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I would love to do something other than just like hearing our expertise on the medium of comics and podcasting. I want to do like a giveaway. What are your thoughts on doing something like that at the panel? Like something to incentivize people, even if they barely care about what we have to say about podcasting.
Yeah, just sit in a chair until we take the photo so it looks full. All right, that's what we need.
Exactly, that's all we want.
Now we got to
tell the story.
We absolutely have to do a giveaway, and especially considering the lineup. All right, so not only is Chris, this is back to the listeners. Not only is Chris going to be there along with his co-host Aaron, we've also got Brad and Lisa Gullickson from the Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast, who we had on the podcast, I think, earlier this year. And Troy Jeffrey Allen from Rexco Comics and Previews World is also on the panel as well. It's a pretty stacked panel of talented podcast hosts and comic lovers and whatnot. If I do say so myself, I'm really excited and proud about the panel that we're going to be throwing. I know it's going to be a good time. So
this is very exciting.
Chris, we absolutely have to do a giveaway. We got to figure out details for that. I know you've got plenty of cool stuff to give away. I'm gonna try to match that. I'm definitely gonna try to match. I think I'm gonna bring some Gotham City Limit exclusive comics. I got tons of short box merch, but I think we can even take it up a notch.
We have our friends at Omnibus and Whatnot both are bringing things to the panel to give away at the panel. So, and talking to Christian Ward 2 nights ago for the show, he'll be there. He's coming to the panel. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal.
I'm calling it right now. The best panel at New York Comic Con is going to be the Awesome Power of Comic podcast and how you can start one. Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. Chris, I am curious though. You know, as a tentatively first time going to New York Comic Con, what can I expect? And I'm sure this could be an episode all on its own. So I'm putting you on the spot with a difficult challenge of trying to give me just a one piece of advice of what I should expect. How can I prepare best for one of the biggest comic conventions that takes place? Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox Store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
This is one of my favorite kind of discussions in the comic world, convention going in general, is, San Diego, of course, is known as this movies, and there's a little bit of comics anymore, but it's mostly about movies. New York is for your comic fan. And I think it's best shown in their artist alley. Again, San Diego has maybe 3 or 4 rows of maybe, I'd say 40 to 50 artists. Artist alley at New York Comic Con is 400 plus. I mean, you go to the New York Comic Con website right now, and it is every walk of life on the East Coast and otherwise going to New York Comic Con. It's going to be really incredible. I will say, and I know this is maybe not the answer that you're looking for, there's really no way to prepare yourself for New York. You are just kind of enduring the entire time. It is sensory overload. You're going to have this giant cloud of FOMO over your head the entire time. But I think at the end of it, when you look back on your experience, and I hope that you have this, because I have this every single year. I've been to New York Comic Con 4 times. You're always happy with your experience because you are around like-minded folk. You're getting to meet creators that you wouldn't get to meet otherwise. And I'll say, just this is a personal thing for me. My favorite experiences from these conventions, but specifically New York, is after the convention, getting together with these people that you just spent time with at the convention, talking about comics, letting loose, going out for a drink or two, meeting creators at these different publisher parties. It's all, New York is just this incredible beast. And I'm so excited to hear, your experience at the end of it all, and obviously that's getting to hang out as well for the first time, you and I in person.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of physical first meetings at this one. I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds like everything I love about Heroes Con on steroids is how I'm taking it. A convention for the comic heads and comic lovers, but even larger. Yeah. I've heard a lot of stories as far as it's 3 floors. You ain't going to get past the first floor on your whole weekend if you're lucky.
It's Artist Alley on the basement. You've got the main floor on the middle, the main, what you think of Comic-Con, that's the middle floor. And the top floor is more comics, more board games. It's just, Javits Center is insane. I think last year they had 72,000 people there. It's madness. I'm very excited again to get I want to get your first reaction day one. Are you going Wednesday? Is that preview day? Are you going Wednesday?
So, listeners, I promise we have a show for you. All right, just ride along. All right, you're hanging out with the boys today. My plan. So we fly in on Wednesday, and my most immediate plan. This is like a personal thing I need to go do. When I get there on Wednesday, I think we get there around 1-ish. So our Airbnb ain't gonna be ready for a couple hours. I'm going to catch a train or maybe an Uber or a cab or something to Brooklyn. I'm gonna go to the Brooklyn Library because currently right now they have a Jay-Z exhibit that has taken over the Brooklyn Library, and I have to go see this. So that's what I'm doing on Wednesday. But I will be ready.
Boy.
Yeah, I will be ready. It's almost like a little pilgrimage for me. I got to go see this. But I will be ready for all the comic goodness the rest of the week. I don't think I'm going to do the preview night on Wednesday.
You need to get pizza while you're in Brooklyn, too, because whatever anyone says about New York, Manhattan, the best pizza is in Brooklyn. So if you're going to get pizza, go while you're in Brooklyn.
Done deal. All right. Once again, to our listeners that are planning to attend New York Comic Con, that'll be there. Please come on out to our panel. Once again, the Awesome Power of Comic podcast and how you can start one yourself. Saturday, October 14th, 6 to 7 p.m. I'll have a link in these show notes so you don't got to memorize that. Now that we've got the shameless plug out the way, let's get this show started. All right. We got some comic news to talk about. We got headlines to talk about, some recent developments and all that. I want to start off this conversation with Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers #1 opens with over 153,000 orders. This was the headline for a Bleeding Cool article about 2 weeks ago. September, I think 19th is the date for this article, or 14th. So about a week before we put out our episode of Daniel Warren Johnson, which was the last episode. If you haven't heard our interview with Daniel Warren Johnson, I highly recommend you go check that out after you finish this episode. So Daniel Warren Johnson is doing a Transformers book. It comes out October 4th, which is the first Wednesday in October. And already, he's already got 153,000 orders in mid-September. I can only imagine what it's at now. It's probably closer to, 175 or something like that. But apparently it set a record for Hasbro. It is Hasbro's, according to the article, this is not only a record for any Hasbro licensed comic launched this century, but also the top-selling debut for Skybound outside of Walking Dead, which is, look, you got two records in one? That's pretty damn incredible.
What a year for Hasbro, by the way, with this and Barbie, both breaking insane records.
If I was an employee at Hasbro right now, I'd be like, my bonus better look nice. I want to read this little excerpt from the article, and you guys tell me how you take this. All right, it says, according to the article, Transformers #1 debut number happened with the ever popular retailer variants at less than 20% of the total print run for Transformers #1. And no ratio variant above 1 to 100, despite many other big launches and reaching years relying on variant ratios as high as 1 in 1,000. So the way I'm taking that is that Transformers #1, just the base cover, is selling hot. It's not like a case of like a big, whatever, maybe Marvel or DC book that has a 1 in 1,000 variant, which kind of drives up those numbers, right? I know a lot of retailers sometimes will go ahead and order 1,000 of one book to get that one hyper exclusive variant because they know they could sell that and maybe make up some of that, a large chunk of that money they spent on ordering 1,000 copies. That's how I'm reading this. And if that's the case, that's even more impressive, right? That there's no gimmicks or
no asterisks next to those numbers,
Yeah. It's like, no, this is, 153,000 copies. No bullshit, no, working the system on our end. Skybound and is doing their thing with the marketing. There's natural hype and excitement for Daniel Warren Johnson for a new Transformers book. It's just getting me even more hype. I think this whole rollout for Transformers, for this, really the whole Energon universe, has been exciting to watch with Robert Kirkman at the helm and all that, and Skybound.
Robert Kirkman and Daniel Warren Johnson really are transforming Skybound over there. And everybody stands up and claps.
Yeah, there's much more than meets the eyes, ladies and gents.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but actually, speaking of Robert Kirkman, as we know, Robert Kirkman and artist Lorenzo De Felici, I think that's how you say his name, but they were in the six-figure order numbers too. They had a whopping 101,000 copies before the close of the FOC for Void Rivals #1. So about a month before the release of Void Rivals #1, they were already in the 100,000, copies. I wish I had something to kind of juxtapose this to show why that's a big deal, but it was a lot harder to find out how much comic units have sold this past month. I'm fine. Like that might be a topic for another day, but I was trying to like look up like, well, how many copies of Batman sold last month so I can, put them side by side, but that was a lot harder to find. So
Butter, what's interesting about that? And this is, I worked in a comic shop, shout out to the Fancy Shop in St. Charles, Missouri. I worked at a comic shop for 3 years. There is no data on what these comics are selling. Bleeding Cool or AIPT, Comics Beat.
I thought Comic-Con would have that. I feel like I used to be able to go to comiccron.com and get the units sold. Like, hey, here's, the top 5 books that sold this month. Batman sold 100,000 units or something, but I can't find any of that.
So I know for a long time they were, because again, Marvel, DC, Diamond, even Lunar, Penguin Random House, no one releases these numbers. What they do is, and again, how these comic sites get their numbers is they actually reach out. They have like people in different markets. They ask actual comic book stores how many they ordered, and that's how they kind of roughly.
Wow,
it's kind of like
that's a lot.
The good way to compare this for everyone who podcasting. The download numbers, those are so obscure. You don't really know. You're just kind of piecing it together from different platforms. That's very similar to what, the comic industry is doing with Transformers here. Like I see here again, like you had said that it, 153,000 units. That's probably not even accurate. Could be more, could be less. I mean, I think it's probably around somewhere in that, but there's probably plenty of small mom and pop comic stores that didn't contribute to this rough estimate. And then kind of along with that as well, I wanted to point out that this is actually $4.99 as well. So that probably has something to do with it. I know it's only $1 compared to the normal $3.99, but a comic of, the first issue being $4.99, I think that makes a big difference whenever you're talking about a comic that sells as much as this did.
Yeah, let's go and do some math real quick. Let's just round it up to a clean 5. So 5 times 153,000. We're looking at 765,000. Yeah, almost looking at $1 million worth of sales right there.
Yeah, and that's just that I would dare to say too that this number of 150,000,
I think it's definitely gone up by now.
It's definitely gone up, and it's also not accounting for people who are buying multiple covers. I'm one of those people. I will be doing that. Same. I think they are only this is like an estimate for someone who's going to buy the first issue, right? Like just one cover. Which again, if you've seen these covers, not only Daniel Warren Johnson's cover, every cover is fucking baller. Like they're all awesome.
Just a little more background for anyone listening that maybe isn't quite aware of the Transformers role. It's part of the larger new Energon universe that Robert Kirkman and folks like Daniel Warren Johnson are launching. So Void Rivals being the flagship title to kick off this new Energon universe. We got Transformers #1 coming out October 4th. And then December, we get the G.I. Joe aspect of it with the launch of Duke #1, which is being written by Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley. They just put out the cover for #1, or it was my first time seeing it like this week. Cover looks gorgeous. You got Duke on the cover, and you got a cameo from Starscream in the back as well, kind of showing you like, hey, this is all connected. We got G.I. Joe. You're going to see Cobra. You're going to see the Transformers.
Synergy.
Yeah, all of that. You know what I'm saying? That is what this book is being powered by. It's not being powered by Energon. It's being powered by synergy.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see, a shared... this shared universe happening, and it makes so much sense too. It doesn't feel Ed, you tell me, does it feel out of place for you to see Transformers and G.I. Joe together?
No, because IDW did it. I mean, they did a crossover when they had the IPs, so it's definitely a natural fit. And yeah, like I said, it's a huge get for Kirkman, and I think as quality as the IDW run was, it was, a lot of people liked it. I think this is kind of breathes new life into the franchises. When I heard Daniel Warren Johnson, who's probably done like my 3 favorite books the last 3 years, like Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, Beta Ray Bill, and do a power bomb. Now he's doing. This guy's like is just killing it. He's
his
just on a streak,
hits,
dude.
Yeah, his greatest hits album is like insane.
And I would like if someone and that's not like the first artist I would say, I'd really like to see him draw Transformers, because I think of his work as more like organic and and usually you see the Transformers comics, everything's so technical and precise, but I cannot wait to see Optimus Prime suplexing Starscream and doing all these wrestling moves. I cannot wait to see Transformers. It's gonna be like when I was a kid playing with the toys.
Well, as someone who's read the first issue already, I can tell you're definitely gonna get that.
Yes.
As someone who's already ready, I'm looking forward to going into the shop still on Wednesday. Well, I guess the day this episode comes out. To go into that shop today and fucking pick up like multiple copies.
As you're listening to this, Bonner's buying 7 covers of Transformers, including the 1-in-100 ratio.
Yeah, as you're listening to this, I'm making bad financial decisions before I go spend all my life savings at New York Comic Con. So
that being said, patreon.com/the short box.
Oh, nice. Thank you, sir.
Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow.
Ed, you mentioned that they've already done this in IDW.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the IDW creative team is looking like? They're like, guys, we did that 10 years ago.
It's probably like Dark Horse of the Star Wars and the Aliens and all the properties they just got ripped away from them. They're probably not feeling great.
All right, let's turn the corner with this next topic here. Ed, you got something that you want to bring to the table. I'm gonna toss it to you. What you got for us today?
Okay, this is the date. September 14th, 2023.
Damn, a lot of shit happened September 14th. We should have recorded this on September 15th.
Bill Willingham's Fable, critically praised series, Hugo nominated, multiple Eisner Award winning. The controversy here is basically he said with all his dealings with DC on basically chasing royalty money and just kind of this kind of ambiguous ownership. So one side says they own one side says they own the other. So he's supposedly this is his creator-owned work. So with all of his frustrations with DC over the years, he basically said, hey, public domain, you guys want to write Fable stuff? Go for it. That's kind of some weird loophole he thinks that might work, which I don't think will. It's just a strange move. And on top of that, it's an interesting move on releasing this in the public domain when the characters in the story are public domain characters like Rose Red, Snow White, Prince Charming. So it's definitely a odd, they're kind of like at this stalemate where, like I said, basically I read his IP manifesto. Basically the issues he's had with DC was, he's basically royalties. They never consulted on any new editions they release. He'd always have to chase them down. They never consulted on what artists they would put to his work. So obviously very frustrating things. And I guess when they wanted to do I believe the 20th anniversary, Dan DiDio was bringing him in and he got fired during these negotiations. They tried to give him a work for hire contract, which would essentially revert those rights to DC. And it basically said, oh, we didn't read your contract. We thought we owned it. This is 20 years, bro. So wow. I kind of understand his frustrations, and he's pushing 70. So he's not a spring chicken. So he's not going to battle this monolithic Warner Brothers. Jim Lee's got the sword out. He's ready. He's on his throne of swords, waiting. But
really quick, Ed, I love that your joke about Jim Lee on an Iron Throne has survived all these years. You're onto something.
Clawed his way to the top, and I applaud him. This is not a negative. He is playing chess his whole career. But this is such an interesting thing, is because according to there's been some like copyright paperwork come up, and the language looks like they both co-own it. So one can't do any moves without the other one's permission. So like if they want to make a movie, they have to get his approval and but he can't go to like Image and do a Fables miniseries or spinoff. So they're kind of at this stalemate, and it's just to me, it's just a fascinating story on IP, and he has this kind of in his manifesto, he basically has this IP theory. It's like, you should only own it 20 years. It's time you can either sell it, and the person you sell it to can only own it for 10 years, and then it should be available for the public to use. So he basically said things should only be tied up in the IP should only be tied up for like 30 years at the most, and it should be for the world to do with what they want. So it's interesting philosophy. It's an interesting situation, and DC just kind of finally did a corporate statement saying that, we still own Fables. We own the intellectual property. We will not, it is not part of the public domain. Basically, he's full of shit. You can't do this.
They do. They own this. See, this is the thing about this whole ordeal. And we were talking a little bit before the recording here. I purposefully tried to stay away from anything Bill Willingham because he's a bad dude. For instance, Bill Willingham at a panel at Gen Con it was in 2016. Apparently there was this movement where it was a bunch of different creators, and apparently anytime that someone who wasn't white or male, Bill Willingham would purposefully interrupt them with defensive comments about whatever the topic was for this panel. This is from multiple firsthand accounts, and that's just one little tip of the iceberg of his many years of just saying very outlandish, questionable things on social media. The guy is out of touch. And I think that this whole thing about him giving up the rights to Fables is him getting ahead of the narrative, saying, I want to get this out of my hands. I want to give it back to the people because DC is so horrible. And I'm not defending DC. I'm not defending any big publisher here, but I'm saying this is definitely on Willingham. He's not a good dude. And that this whole thing is a ruse for him to, for the rest of his life, say, oh, I gave it up instead of they fired me. I don't want anyone to think that I don't want creators to like speak out against their thoughts or anything, you know?
And from your point of view, I know it's hard to separate, especially in situations like this, separating the art from the artist, especially when the artist is still around and lives in our time. You know, as much as I love H.P. Lovecraft, kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
But he's
you ever read Rats on the Walls? It's pretty fucking racist.
But he's probably one of the most influential science fiction, a genre creating author.
Yeah, you can't take away the talent.
I can't take away the work. And I agree with you. Like I said, bad dude, but I see what he's saying. And just even seeing some of that paperwork, it has both their names. So it's like Bill Willingham and DC. So they're kind of stuck in this awful marriage, you know, until he's gone. And like I said, it's just a weird, it's more of the move. And that's an interesting, I didn't think about that angle you're coming from, but that is definitely something to think about for sure.
I don't want to not like comic creators. That's the worst thing, is that this should be a space where we escape, and we should, it's for progressive thoughts. It's for people who are giving voices to the disenfranchised. And when you have someone like, again, a Steranko or a Willingham, who are just these out of touch, just want to force their terrible views on people. And anybody who disagrees is not intelligent. I've heard him say that on social media. Come at me with an intelligent thought. I think he is like one of his favorite terms on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, and unfortunately now it's like we see all sides. We see the negative and the positive. You know, we don't just see clips or magazine interviews where they're on their best behavior. You know, you see all the ugliness out now, and that's an unfortunate thing with social media for sure. It's one of those things where I kind of have to I'll just look at the work and then kind of, I don't need to know about their personal life.
It's unsurprising, but it's still disappointing.
Oh, very sure. Yeah, it is disappointing. So, because I was like, first, my initial thing was like, oh, attaboy, Bill. And then when I started digging in, you know, like the stuff you brought up, it's like, oh, really? All right. Well, this is going to be awkward.
So where is it at right now? Right now, it's just like kind of in a weird limbo.
It's like a Mexican standoff kind of thing. There's kind of like they're kind of at a, and I think that's what he does. And like I said, it's possibly, it could be in the guise of young creators can use my creation to create their own stories, and he could be trying to white knight himself or make himself look good.
That's exactly, yeah.
And DC's on the side like, we'll sue the shit
like,
out of you.
Oh, there's two bad people. It's like, who's worse? You know, it's like
rocking a hard place right now.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
Interesting.
Are you guys familiar at all with the deal that Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons got for Watchmen back in the day for Vertigo as well with DC Comics?
Yeah, wasn't it to the tune of, as long as the minute DC or Vertigo stopped publishing Watchmen, the rights would revert back to Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. But DC, that's why every year we get like a different Watchmen omnibus absolute edition. Is that the gist of it?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's essentially the same deal that everyone got, including Willingham, got in the 90s with Fables, because it was a Vertigo title. And essentially what it is exactly what you said, Botter. It's the moment that it goes out of print for 8 months or longer, I didn't know about 100% goes to the creator. And that's why, again, if you go to a comic shop, you see multiple versions, 10th anniversary, 15th anniversary. Any
reissues? Oh, this is a hardcover. Oh, there's behind the scenes stuff. Oh, there's another.
There are so many versions of Fables. And what Willingham is essentially trying to do, he is like a poor man's Alan Moore here. He's trying to, like you said, Ed, white knight himself and go, no, I gave up the rights because I am tired of the establishment. And again, this will be the last thing I say about it. That's not at all what's happening here. He is trying to get ahead of his bad behavior, and it's gross, but we know. Bill, William, I'm talking to you. We know.
We see through the facade, buddy. You don't even know these characters.
So it's kind of similar to the Sony Spider-Man thing, too. They keep putting out Spider-Man, tangentially related Spider-Man movies.
Just putting out it's the same thing with Dick Tracy. I'm forgetting the actor who played the character in the early 90s. He just so he put out the movie in the 90s, and then every couple years he'll put out like a 10-minute YouTube video, and that suffices as his retention.
Those are so weird. He talks to himself. Those, right? He interviews himself as Dick Tracy. Yes. He's like,
"Hey, see, darling."
Yeah, see? Warren Beatty. That's what it is.
Warren Beatty, thank you, yes.
I guess in closing, DC can still put out, I'm assuming, Fables material, right? Like they can still put out books and...
According to Willingham, basically, they can do, and editions, but he has to kind of consult on them or approve them, and he gets royalties from them.
Interesting.
Which is something he said he always had to kind of chase down because they would not report what they sold, kind of fudge the numbers so they didn't have to pay him and stuff, which is pretty shitty too.
This is definitely a nuanced topic. Like Chris had said in the beginning, you definitely don't side with the big corporation that's screwing the artists and the creators. But then at the same time, you're like, yeah, but I feel weird rooting for a guy that I fundamentally don't really agree with.
It's like that South Park, the shit sandwich and giant douche. It's like, well, you got to vote for one of them. You got to take one side. It's like both sides suck.
This is a bad comparison. Have you guys seen the documentary about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp on Netflix?
Oh,
no, I have not.
It's the same thing. Everybody sides behind Johnny Depp, but the dude didn't do he did some pretty terrible shit too. And everybody gives to, and Amber Heard's not, victimless here either. They both were being terrible people to each other. And it's the voice of public opinion sided with Johnny Depp. And that's why we all in our headcanon think that he was correct in this whole thing. When in reality, he was a drunk. He did terrible shit too.
I think when she shit in the bed, that kind of turned everybody. I was like, what she did what now?
To Captain foul. Jack? How dare you?
That's foul, Amber Heard.
Amber Turd.
Nice.
Sorry, that was a low-hanging fruit. I apologize.
That's why you're a broadcast professional.
That's why Chris is on the show. All right, so it sounds like if you are a Fables fan, it's going to be a rough couple of years for you.
But right? You might be getting some nice new additions coming out.
Yeah, a little
just wait for 8 months after Willingham dies, and you'll get your Fables back. All right, don't worry, it's fine.
There's going to be a mini series, a movie. There's going to be action figures.
All right, Chris, take it away, man. You got something for us too. What's your news piece?
So we have the return of Ultimate Spider-Man, and this was big news. It was big news for fans of Spider-Man. Big news for people who loved the original Ultimate Spider-Man with Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. This time around, though, we've got Jonathan Hickman, fresh off the back of the House of 10, Powers of X-Men universe revamp, and then also artist Marco Cicchetto, who recently finished up Daredevil with Chip Zdarsky. So we have a panel coming at New York Comic Con. It'll be essentially kind of the laid out plans of what this essentially is off the back of the Ultimate Invasion, which again was written by Jonathan Hickman. This is the return of the Ultimate Universe from the early 2000s, and Brian Hitch, of course, on art for that Ultimate Invasion. There's not really a ton of news about the Ultimate Spider-Man coming back. It is the only Ultimate title that's been announced thus far, and I'm assuming we'll get more information at this panel at New York. I bring all this up, guys, because I'm conflicted. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because I am a giant fan of that original Ultimate Spider-Man from back in the day, again, by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. 160 issues of amazingness. Mm-hmm. It's between that and Invincible. It is just, you can read it at any point in your life, and it hits the same or better every single time. It lasted for 11 years. Brian Michael Bendis, shameless plug, came onto the show, and I had to ask him about his Ultimate Spider-Man run. And of course he created Miles Morales during that run.
Oh yeah.
There's so many incredible things about that original Ultimate Spider-Man. And that is why, gentlemen, I am not looking forward to this. And Jonathan Hickman very rarely does wrong in the comic universe. I can't even honestly think of something off the top of my head where I go, man, that's an odd decision by Jonathan Hickman.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick.
Potter, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Hickman doesn't produce bad quality, in my opinion. He does produce very complicated quality where you're not sure if you're enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I don't know if I'm having fun as much as I'm having to really decipher this new language, or
is this good? Themes. Is this bad, or am I just too dumb?
That's it. On his worst days, just make you feel stupid. It's never terrible quality. It's just this is really dense, and I think I just wanted to escape. And Spider-Man is definitely a character you're like, I go into it knowing I just want to feel good. I want to be inspired and feel good. And Hickman's very dense world building story style. It'll be a very interesting, I think, meshing of styles. At the very least, the art's going to look beautiful. Marco Cicchetto
is one of the best.
Insane.
In the industry now. Yeah.
I saw the announcement the day they made it or shared it on Twitter, and I did get hyped. My first initial reaction was like, what? Hickman on like one of my favorite characters of all time. And then as it like kind of just settled in, and you know, I'm thinking about like, you know, his infamous Avengers and secret, you know, New Avengers run, and even like Ultimate Invasion, like his most recent one. I don't know if I want all that with Spider-Man. You know, it's like I just want a really cool rogues gallery,
some apocalyptic nightmare coming.
Spider-Man fighting God, you know, like you know all these.
How's his time? I haven't read him in a while. How's his timeliness? Is he still disappear?
Are you talking about Spider-Man or John?
I think he's talking like as far as meeting his deadlines and stuff.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think for the most part, he's on time. I know a lot of times they give him plenty of.
I followed
time
some
to
like
work on his stuff.
creator-owned stuff. He just like never came back. He's like, what happened?
Yeah, East
Where'd
to
you
West
go?
at the end, kind of was few and far between. And then, so here's what's interesting about Hickman at Marvel is that he's Mr. Fix-It. Since his career back at the beginning of the Ultimate Universe, he wrote the Ultimates Volume 2 after Mark Millar left the title. It was Jonathan Hickman who came in and took that over. Then, of course, we've got the Avengers. You had that Avengers run there. Fantastic Four, a title for a long time, was unsellable during the 90s after John Byrne left it in the late 80s, early 90s.
They even canceled it for a bit, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Exactly.
Canceled the Marvel's first family. They was like, get the hell out of here.
Well, and that, of course, was because Fox owned it. It was the same thing with the X-Men. And then the Secret Wars, which is my favorite event title of all time.
The 2015 series, yeah.
Yeah, just a culmination of everything. And then Mr. Fix-It comes in again with the X-Men and recreates the X-Men universe over at Marvel, and I think for the better. We're seeing the destruction of that right now, and I think that the Ultimate Universe the Ultimate Spider-Man title being revamped here and it being kind of the launch title with this new revamped Ultimate Universe is a direct response to Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man that's going on right now.
That. Yeah.
As someone who read the first couple issues and was completely off from the title, and I'm not someone who likes to generally be negative about the comic industry in general. I only like to talk about things that I like. I will say this Spider-Man title is not great right now. It's not good.
I haven't collected Spider-Man, for a minute. So seeing this Hickman news, I'm like, oh, this might be the first time I collect Spider-Man as on my pull for the first time in like years. But in that context, Chris, that makes a lot of sense. You call him Mr. Fix-It, and Hickman has done that. That is his track record with Marvel. And but it's also interesting that this is an Ultimate title and not the main run. But I think it just lines up to what he's doing for Ultimate Invasion and bringing back the Ultimate Universe and getting to like that is his sandbox. So I do get it in that regard. So there is a little bit of curiosity in like how this will sell compared to the main line, who I think right now Zeb Wells is still writing
He's
it.
still on it. So I think that what you're saying right there was a prerequisite for Hickman agreeing to be on the title. He didn't want to come into that continuity and whatever Zeb Wells has done and what Nick Spencer did before him. He doesn't want to be tied down. That's always Hickman's thing, is that if you want me on this title, if you want me to come in here and fix your deal,
blanche. Give me carte
you better freaking wipe the slate clean. I need something new. Let me play in my own playground, right? And I think that's what I find most interesting, I think, about this, again, revamp of Ultimate Spider-Man is that we don't know who Spider-Man is. Miles Morales is in the normal universe. Peter Parker is in the normal universe. So who is going to be this Ultimate Spider-Man? Because I don't know if you guys have read Ultimate Invasion, but this Ultimate Universe is a new Ultimate Universe. It's not the 6110. That's the old Ultimate Universe. This new one is 6160. So it's a brand new universe.
Oh my God, my head hurts.
All new time.
So basically, because I haven't followed any Spider stuff in a while. So basically, because I always, as a very casual Hickman reader, I always see him as more of like you said, either a Mr. Fix-It or a big picture, big event.
Super heady,
like apocalyptic, almost, just
what is God?
Yeah,
what are
just
we?
And him doing like I guess like a street level kind of more personal character, which he's just working, one borough of New York. You know what I'm saying? Does that seem too small, Sam? But is he basically expanding this new Ultimate Universe? Is he basically kind of the architect for this new Ultimate Universe now? So he's gonna start here and then kind of branch out this.
I think that is a safe assumption.
Okay, I'm just kind of, like I said, I haven't been following it, so I'm just like, and it's not Miles Morales.
No, it's definitely not Miles.
Oh, we don't know.
Well, we don't know for sure, but I'm gonna bet that it's not Miles because Miles has his own title.
But technically, he's a different, and this is a different Ultimate Universe, so it could be
Miles could pop back up in this new Ultimate Universe, and it could not even be the same.
Or whoever
Miles,
the
right?
Prowler could be.
Ooh,
that could be
Aaron,
the
Aaron.
Oh man, that's interesting.
So I think what I'm going to call my shot here, everybody, and this just popped in my brain, Ed, while you were talking. The two titles that Hickman is working on now, because he's not with the X-Men anymore. Like I said, they're destroying the House of 10 Powers of X. That's like their new event that's coming out during the winter, is the destruction of the House of X, right? That's the new thing they're promoting. The thing that Hickman's working on in the normal universe is this new title called Gods, that apparently is kind of a revamp, a analysis of the gods of the Marvel universe.
In the original solicitation, I think they were comparing this Gods project. It's supposed to be like the Sandman of like the Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. So like very like, obscure, heady, characters dealing with, like you said, like gods and demigods and like, reality and stuff like that.
And then the other title he's working on, the most, like you said, Ed, the most street level character in Marvel with Spider-Man over in the Ultimate Universe. And he's going to be also kind of spearheading that as like the overarching architect of that universe. I think at some point in the future, within the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have another Secret Wars type of event between these gods are going to play in the Ultimate Universe at some point. I think he's setting something up for the Ultimate Universe and the normal universe to clash in some way. Maybe not the destruction again, like it was in Secret Wars, but something where they definitely bleed into each other in some way.
That is a fair assumption right there. It'll be interesting to revisit this episode if years from. I mean, Hickman, he's like at least a 2-year investment, like you're not going to see the fruits, at least if they keep him on this long. And if his plans are that big, we're not going to see the final picture until like years from now. But it will be cool to see him flex, a different, I don't know if it's going to be a different muscle. It's Hickman, man. Like this dude can probably he can write anything. But to Ed's point, it does seem like a departure from the larger themes and bigger stories that he does. But who knows? Maybe he'll have fucking Spider-Man fighting, maybe he will have Spider-Man.
Galactus, issue 1.
Yeah. What if God was one of us? I say all that to say I am this piques my interest big time. One of my favorite writers with one of my favorite characters and a badass artist. Let's not give Marco Checchetto his props as well. It's creative team wise, looks stellar. And I think this is safe to say probably a good jumping on point for readers of all kinds.
Can I tell you my one reservation with this is that if it is successful, Marvel, as they often do, will learn the wrong lesson and they will keep expanding in the Ultimate Universe. And then we will have double titles for the X-Men, for Captain America, for Thor.
And I was thinking about the situation with House of X, Power of X, right? Hickman comes in, writes maybe some of the best X-Men in years. Huge seller. Had everyone talking. I know, like in my circle, we were all reading House of X, Power of X every week, talking about it. And then, to see like what happened to that, where Hickman's like, all right, I've got a 3-part or 3-act story. And then eventually Marvel editorial is like, whoa. We can't stop this cash train now. Like, come on, what are you doing? Chris, now you got me worried. Now you got me worried that they're going to milk this shit.
Sorry, I had to add a little cynicism into your excitement.
They're going to milk this for all it's worth. And it's going to end up being terrible. But at least I'll stay on board for the Hickman stuff. That's
Potter's like, I love comics and I love Spider-Man. I'm like, but business and money.
That is a part of comics you can't overlook at times. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to wrap this up on a really good note. Not saying that we haven't had good news, but I want to wrap this up on a very good note. The last news item that I'm going to share before we go into our next segment. Rick Remender signs 3-year exclusivity deal with Image Comics. This comes from a Comics Beat article that I read this week. Effective immediately, all future creator-owned projects from Rick Remender and his imprint, Giant Generator, will be exclusive to Image Comics. Now, my first reaction to seeing this was like, what's the difference?
20 Image titles.
Yeah, like that was my first reaction. Like, this is news? Like,
right.
It doesn't Remender drop all of his stuff on Image? But this essentially gives Image Comics exclusive rights. Like they are going to put out his books, all of his creator-owned stuff. And I think it just makes it more official, right? Like I think prior to this deal being announced, Remender was actually in negotiations and talks with the big two. Marvel had put on the table having him write X-Men and DC offered him Batman. And actually, I'll just read this quote from the article from Remender talking about that deal. I've recently turned down very generous offers to write X-Men and Batman. And while flattered, that would ultimately be a step backwards artistically and not where my heart is at.
Man, that's some clout to have, right? X-Men, thanks,
He's
but
like,
no
Chip,
thanks.
you can have Batman. That's fine. I'm doing other things.
When I think creator-owned comics and, like a poster boy for Image and what it stands for, and really just like success in comics, Rick Remender is someone that immediately comes to mind. You look at all the success he's had, all the titles he's worked with, the respect that other creators give him. I mean, hell, Daniel Warren Johnson, last episode, spoke so highly of Rick Remender. I think he said something to the effect of like being super impressed by how he's able to churn out creator-owned books, especially when you consider how much it takes out of you as a creator. The fact that he's doubling down on creator-owned work, that he wants to own this stuff, and he's serious about it, and he's so serious about it that he's willing to do an exclusivity deal with Image, I think speaks a lot, man. And I think it also speaks a lot about Image and their respect for their creators. And now, granted, I know Image isn't perfect,
and it's only 3 years, so it's not like I said, that's not in the scheme of things. That's not a long time. But there's a quote in that article. It's like, I like this quote. He's like, he wants to like build his own house.
Oh, I got it right here. And I think it's worth reading this full quote. Quote, Image takes no ownership, so my partners and I co-own 100% of our properties. It's short-term versus long-term thinking. You want to build your own house, make something that your children will inherit? Image is the only place. This contract is me saying that I bet on myself. I bet on my collaborators. I bet on my characters, stories, and owning what we make exclusively. With all we've got, like our lives are on the line. End quote. Put that shit on a shirt. Like, man.
Yeah.
Front and back.
That gets you inspired, man.
Now let's go in the second half and win the game.
Facts. And when you consider like his output too, like that was something Daniel brought up, was his output, and a mass majority of that being creator owned. Like he and his relationship with Image like dates back way further than I thought. I'm familiar with like that 2013, 2012 Image Renaissance period where, he was in the middle of that. He put out Black Science, Deadly Class, Low, Tokyo Ghost with Sean Murphy, 7 to Eternity, with Jerome Pena. Like those are all like hits. Well, you can go back even further. In 2005, he I think first got on board with Image with Fear Agent. And then he had some other titles I'm not quite familiar with, A Sea of Red and Strange Girl. I've not heard
I
of
love
those.
both. Sea of Red is like a pirate story, and Strange Girl is like, there's a thing in, there's a thing, I think it's like a Baptist thing where, the word escapes me, but basically everybody gets sucked up to heaven who is a believer, and everyone else gets stuck on earth while everybody...
the Rapture?
Rapture, thank you. So that's basically, she is left there as a child, and like her whole family get raptured up, and basically demons take over the world. That's one of my... I think that's the first thing I read of his, is either Strange Girl or Fear Agent, or one of those.
Have you guys read A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance?
I have the first issue, but I haven't...
I've only read the first issue. They just came out with the deluxe edition. It's really freaking awesome. Yeah, it's I mean, again, just reading the first issue, but I've seen many people who have caught up and read the entire thing, and they say that's one of his best. So,
Damn.
Oh wow,
Did not know that. Wow, I didn't even have that on the list. But that's what I'm saying is Rick Remender, when it comes to like bodies of work, this is a very consistent, hardworking dude, and he is someone that you would want to study as a creator, whether you, I guess as a writer and just I think as a creator in general, because his eye for artistic talent is I think it's right up there with Mark Millar. We've talked about that Mark Millar has an insane eye for really good artistic talent. Rick Remender is just as strong when it comes to like who he decides to collaborate with.
I think that's like a true testament to some of the best writers, like you're saying. Another example that comes to my brain immediately is Tom King here recently. Like every single Tom King book, that if you don't, for whatever reason, if you don't like what Tom is writing, you're going to love the way it looks. I mean, Human Target, Mr. Miracle, Strange Adventures, here more recently with Love Everlasting, like everything that he's been putting out. Again, it's a beautiful, I mean, I love Tom King, but the book is always gorgeous as well.
I would say like Rick Remender probably has one of the strongest bodies of like work out there. I mean, some of the stuff is not my favorite. I'll admit, like Low didn't really resonate with me. I like Tokyo Ghost a lot. Black Science, classic. Deadly Class, classic. No pun intended.
People love 7 to Eternity. I didn't love it myself,
Same.
but that's like one of the outliers. You know, Rick Remender is like whoever your favorite comic creator is. I bet you Rick Remender is probably in their top 5.
Oh, for sure. His work ethic is insane because he's got 2 comic series right now. There's Sacrificers, which is on issue 3, which is really good. That one is also really sad. Also really sad.
Yeah, it's that first issue. Oh boy,
like
this is a real bummer.
Sad. I'm like, whoa, some PTSD from
so much child slavery. Oh, first issue. We're starting here. Sorry, son. And after I beat your ass, now I'm gonna give you up.
And he's got another book coming out this month, October, where he's doing with Andy Sandberg. Damn, I don't got the name here in front of me, but it's like something roller skater or something like that. But I say all that to say, Rick Remender. You know, I love seeing his name pop up in headlines because it normally means either it's going to be a new project or he's got something cool going on with his imprint. And the fact, just knowing that he's going to continue his relationship with Image and it's on good terms and they're just as excited to have him on board. I'm really curious to see if this means that we're going to get more series or more projects from him, or they're just going to double down on what he's currently doing.
I know one thing they're doing. If I can share it. Deluxe hardcovers of 3 titles. So they're doing a deluxe hardcover of Black Science, issues 1 through 16, Low, issues 1 through 15, and The Complete Tokyo Ghost. Getting that. Part of that exclusivity, too, is like, and if you have the cachet he has, is like they'll publish these editions up front. You know, you don't have to prove yourself. You know, he's proven himself easily. So you get these nicer editions and on top of trades and stuff. So I'm looking forward to these deluxe hardcovers. I
love a deluxe hardcover.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even care if I don't really love the series. Give me that deluxe hardcover. I'll take it.
That Strange. I have the omnibus of that hardcover omnibus of Strange Girl.
I don't know about you guys, but when I really like a series, that is how I show how much I love it. You know, it's like,
when you buy it for the 8th time. It's like, I got the singles, the paperback, the hardcover, the special edition.
I have Saga in 4 versions over here, guys. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like, what's the difference? You don't understand. This one comes with one extra sketch that the other one didn't.
It comes with the script for issue 7. How dare you?
That's a silent
concept
issue,
art.
Yeah.
Doodles on a napkin. He scanned into this.
Can I also admit that I don't really think I understood how long Rick Remender had been with Marvel, neither.
Yeah.
Because 2005 to 2007, he's with Image. And then from 2007 to, I believe, 2014, 15-ish, he's with Marvel. And I forgot
he left with After Axis.
Yeah, I forgot how. Yeah, I do remember that story. And then he goes back to Image and he, has another fucking renaissance period. But I mean, even all his Marvel stuff was like huge. X-Force, fantastic. I still talk about that series to this day. His Venom run, I haven't read all of it, but I know people that swear by it. His Frankencastle series.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like
Legion of Monsters, my favorite.
The Uncanny X-Force, what you were just saying, is one of my favorite. It's one of the easiest recommends when it comes to like an X-Men title. And I'm not like an X-Men expert. There you go. There's something.
An expert? No, he's on a roll, folks.
There it is. Yeah, I've done it again. By golly. No, Uncanny X-Force, easy recommend. Great creative team, great art. Really, if you like, I remember thinking, because I recently reread it, and I remember thinking, Remender he gets every single voice. Like everyone from Deadpool to Psylocke to Wolverine to Phantom X, everybody has their own personality. Everybody has their motivation. It's a great series.
Agreed. Hard agree. I'm looking forward to seeing what this deal means in terms of new stuff, of collected things. But regardless, shout out to Rick Remender and Image. I think I'm gonna take a page from Chris's book. I'm gonna put this out into the universe. I'm gonna have Rick Remender on the show. At some point. I was going to say before the year is over, but I definitely I think it would be a really cool opportunity to talk to Rick Remender and just pick his brain. That's
a Hall of Fame guest.
So I'm putting that out there in the universe. Remender, come on the show, man. Let's talk.
Rick, we know you're listening. Come on the show.
I'm seeing him at New York Comic Con. I'm just going to stalk him. All right. Come on the show. I think as far as headlines and news go, I think we've covered a healthy amount. I want to get into our next segment and talk new comics. But this goes out to the listeners. If you feel like we missed something glaring, and in true Shortbox fashion, what's going to happen is this episode is going to come out, and some big piece of news is going to happen the same day, and we're going to look crazy because it's like I didn't talk about you didn't talk about Hickman joining DC or something like that,
right?
But if we missed something glaring, or if you've got like a topic or a headline that you want to get our opinion on, I invite you to email us or send us a DM on Twitter or Instagram. All right. If you want to get our opinion or you want to share a headline that, maybe we should have talked about, let us know. Be a part of the conversation. But with that out the way, let's go ahead into our next segment and talk about all of the glorious, great new comic books that are hitting shop next month. This will be our first fistful of comics in the brand new season. So, we got to bring in the intro music.
You can either have a mouthful of tea or a fistful of comics.
Fistful of Comics is a segment dedicated to helping all you comic-curious newbies and loyal Wednesday warriors take your comic shopping experience to the limit by helping you find the best new comics and starting points that you simply can't afford to miss. And since we work smarter, not harder here on the Short Box, we call on the assistance of a man that takes pride in living life to the limit, and that includes comic books. I'm talking about Ben Kingsbury, the owner of Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville's premier comic shop. Ben has kind of done all the hard work for us, all right? He's compiled this week's list of top 3 new and worthy comics that are worthy of any fan's time and attention. So whether you are a diehard comic reader, you got a pull list, or maybe you're someone new, maybe you're looking to get into the world of comic books, this list is a great place to start. I've got previews for each title that we'll be talking about and sharing listed in the show notes in case you want to look at any of the previews or just follow along with the segment. Check the show notes. Let's go and get some music going and see what he's got for us today.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Short Box listener. I'm Ben K, representing the home of the adventures of Alexander Hamster, Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville, Florida. We're about to take it to the limit. Let's do this. First up, AWA Studios. All right, the writer's strike is over. All these AWA Studios comics you should be collecting. Keys alert. They're all going to be movies. They're all going to be TV shows. You know that's how this works. And I don't know if you know this, but sex sells in business. And Red Light, #1 of a 4-part series, seems like it's going to be no different. Sarah Cho wrote it. If you've read Chariot, if you read Hit Me from AWA, Chariot's amazing, like a modern Knight Rider. Anyway, back to Red Light. Futuristic AI, sex workers, murder, mystery, intrigue. Oh yeah, and sex sells. Some badass covers. AWA Studios Red Light #1. Check it out.
Whew, come on, he started off a little spicy. All right, I'm looking at the previews for this one right now, and it's a sexy cover.
Can I tell you guys, this is maybe one of the most unsurprising things. So I saw Red Light. I looked at, of course we're talking about it here. I'm looking it up. And the writer is a brand new writer, Sarah Cho. I don't know if that strikes a chord with either one of you gentlemen, but that's the wife of Frank Cho. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Who is probably the horniest comic creator in comics.
I love Frank Cho.
Yeah.
We're about to find out he gets it from his wife. That's what we're about to find out.
His wife approves.
Oh, yeah,
of his horniness.
I saw the last name and I don't want to assume, but I was like, I wonder if she's related to Frank Cho.
All Chos are related.
I don't say it, everybody.
Edmund Danzart said that, all right? Taiwanese
I'm
American.
Asian. I can speak for the
Thank
Chos.
you, Ed. Yes, thank you. All right. Once again, that was Red Light. Issue 1 is coming out through AWA. It's a 4-issue limited series. This book comes out on November 1st. Let's move on to his next pick, which he goes a little mainstream. We mentioned DC Comics this episode, and a little spoiler warning. It's a DC comic book. You might have heard of it.
Next up, DC Comics presents Batman 139. Now, why would I say Batman 139? Well, let me tell you one of the cool things about owning a comic shop that's only a handful of years old. We still get so many new comic readers. And for the first time walking in here, these modern comics can seem like a different language. Do I start there? Look at that, Spidey. What about Sensational? Help. Where do I start? Batman 139, perfect place to start. It's still Chip Zdarsky writing it. He's writing Gotham War right now, which is fantastic. However, this is a brand new story arc. Batman, Joker, more brutal than ever. Mind Bomb begins here. Oh yeah, and cover H, bat symbol foil variant. That's all I'm going to say. You better get one pre-FOC. Come to the limit. We'll hook you up. Batman 139.
Ben is the type that I've seen it. He will mail your comics. If you want to set up a pull list at Gotham City Limit, he will absolutely honor the discount and mail out the comics. All right, but Batman number 139 comes out November 7th. It looks like, much to his point, it is a 40-page comic book. It says new story arc begins. And I feel like that is one thing I'm noticing a lot of Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. There's like multiple jumping on points. So I do like that they're,
We're trying to get this Batman guy popular.
Are you guys keeping up with this Batman run with Chip Zdarsky at all?
No, man. And that is, I do feel foolish for not being on this, and because I love Chip Zdarsky, and Jorge Jimenez is one of my favorite artists in comics now. It's just that I'm also reading I feel like 2 other Zdarsky books, and I'm like, how many books is this dude doing? He's doing like New Burn. He's got like another Image one. Public Domain. Matter of fact, there was one at the shop this week that I have never heard of, and I can't recall the name of it. I'll find it here, but it's like, how many books is he writing? Are you reading Batman, Chris?
I am. I'm not up to issue 139, but I read all the failsafe stuff, and I read up to the issue that I think a lot of people were really, craving and talking about for a long time. It was, I'm trying to see here really quickly. I think it's issue 131, which was the, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. People at home, if you're listening right now on your radio or in your headset, check out Batman 131. You can read it by itself. It's the end of the failsafe run, and it is insane. There's a little, in a world where we're very oversaturated with multiverse stuff, we get a really cool multiverse moment with Batman that I think not only is a cool moment within itself, but it also sets up this next arc with Batman and Chip Zdarsky writing it with a fan favorite, Zur-En-Arrh. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zur-En-Arrh in the Batman universe, but he's like the He's like the Batman
Bizarro. Is he like the Batman with the purple and yellow?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. From the Grant Morrison run, right?
So basically, anytime Batman goes to sleep, and Zur-En-Arrh's whole thing is that he's like an unhinged Batman. Anytime that Bruce Wayne goes to sleep, Zur-En-Arrh comes to life. It's the same person, but it's almost like a personality.
Geez.
Yeah.
All of Batman's
can't even sleep.
All of Batman's intrusive thoughts come out at night. The freaks come out at night.
No rest for this guy.
All right, I found the name of the other Chip Zdarsky book from Image. It's called Capterra, Universal Truths.
Oh, yeah.
That is the thing about Chip Zdarsky. It's like, you can go outside right now and lift a random rock up, and you're going to find an issue of some Chip Zdarsky book that you did not know about. This dude writes
Or issue mini by Chip Zdarsky underneath this rock. And it's funny because he was just the funny guy that drew sex criminals for a long time. And now he's like the top writer in comics, or one of them at least. Like, it's kind of wild.
He went from being, Chip, to that's Chip MF and Zdarsky.
Yeah, Eisner winning Chip Zdarsky.
And it's cool to see he transcended that. That could have kind of pigeonholed him, Now he's working on Daredevil and Batman. It's wild.
And writing his ass off on Daredevil. Like I'm halfway through that run, and it is like one of the best Daredevil runs I've ever read. It's fantastic.
For a character that has often had amazing runs, both, I would say Daredevil here with this, but also Batman, and like both, I would say at the 2 publishers, the 2 characters who have gotten some of the greatest concurrent runs over and over and over again are Daredevil and Batman. And Zdarsky, I can't really say for his Batman because he's still very early on in it, but his Daredevil run is a top 5 Daredevil run of all time. I will say that concretely.
Yeah, it's going down in history for sure. All right, let's get back to this list. We got one more from Ben's list, and this one comes from Vault Comics. It is a comic series that I need to go back and revisit, especially with this. All right, let's hear it.
And last but not least, Vault Comics presents Barbaric, Wrong Kind of Righteous, number 1. This double-sized one-shot introduces an all-new talking bloodthirsty weapon, Flail. I cannot wait. They've already got a bloodthirsty sword, a bloodthirsty axe. Barbaric is fantastic. Vault Comics has been crushing it. Again, another perfect place to jump on. They've got the trade paperbacks out of the earlier volumes of Barbaric if you'd like to catch up, but great place to start. Barbaric, Wrong Kind of Righteous, number 1. Well, I'm still Ben K, representing the home of the adventures of Alexander Hamster. And did I mention all our copies of said Alexander Hamster are signed by both writer and artist? This is Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville, Florida. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility, and always take it to the limit.
So we might have to explain.
Yeah, please. You want to explain it?
Alexander Hamster reference. You might not know. I don't know why he didn't mention Jonathan's name.
I was like,
so,
man, just deliver the punchline.
Is a longtime comic book. He's been in the comic book shop.
I think it's safe to say at this point, Jonathan is a Jack's comic.
Yeah,
like kind of like I don't know, legend. It might be a little much, but it's definitely an icon. You know, when he's 70 years old, we can call him legend. But for sure, a staple in the comic community.
So he wrote a children's book, which was illustrated by our very own Ashley.
Published
and he's basically
artist Ashley Lanny Hoy.
Yes.
Come on.
So basically, he self-published a children's book, which they are selling at the shop. Yeah. So that is the Alexander Hamster. He mentioned everything but who did it, and
gotta credit those.
But
creators.
I wanted to just
now.
credit because it's our family is involved in that. So
Ben sometimes thinks 2 steps ahead. He might have been expecting us to do the fill-in.
Okay.
You know, like
he just threw it up in the air. We got to dunk it.
Yes, if you are, I'm gonna stop saying if you're just in Jack's, because if you email or reach out to Ben and want to buy one of these Alexander Hamilton books, he will absolutely
Hamilton. He does.
Wait, what did I say?
You said Alexander Hamilton. He's in his presidential series.
Imagine a kid's book. Yeah. All right, yes.
Speaking of bad dudes.
Yeah.
Alexander Hamster books, done by Jonathan Sanders, with art by our very own Ashley Lanny Hoy. Either hit up Ben at Gotham City Limit or shoot me a message and I can help arrange that. His Ben's pick, by the way, Barbaric, Wrong Kind of Righteous #1, comes out November 15th. As well. If you've been reading the Barbaric series, I think this was a series that Ed championed when it first came out.
Yeah, I want to echo that. Sorry, I want to echo that really quickly. That Vault has been doing some really interesting stuff here recently. Like Barbaric, of course, is maybe one of the obvious answers, but they also did The Plot recently, which was a horror anthology, which was really good. Obviously, Donny Cates did his Inceptor run through Vault at one point. There's just like I'm looking through what's the other one that Vagrant Queen. I think I haven't read that, but I've heard it's very good.
Yeah.
So I really like what Vault's doing.
That was one of his picks too.
Oh yeah,
Ben's picks. Yeah.
Oh really? Was it? Okay. Yeah. So I Vault, keep an eye out for them. I think they're doing a lot of really interesting stuff.
The Blue Flame came out through Vault. It was written by Cantwell, and that was one I championed. Vault is they've been killing it. But gents, I want to hear from both of you. Out of the 3 options we got, Red Light #1, Batman 139, and Barbaric, Wrong Kind of Righteous. Which one piqued your interest? Which one would get put on your pull list? Chris, let's go to you. Which one?
I mean, Batman is an easy answer. That's a layup. And again, like we've already said, Chip Zdarsky's killing it from every angle. So I'm not going to say that. I've been lonely lately, so I'm going to say Red Light #1. I feel like that. No. I genuinely.
A man's got needs, baby.
Like the spice.
Gonna feel the warm embrace of a comic book. It seems interesting. I feel like comics or media about sex can often be stereotyped as for lonely nerds in their mom's basement. But I think this, especially written by an all-female creative team, I think is really interesting. And I think this being Sarah Cho's first outing, let's see what she's got. I'm curious. And AWA, nepotism, like you said, is
comic book nepotism works.
Right, exactly. Who's your husband again? No. And also, I should have said Frank Cho had a cover for both Batman and this series as well. So there you go. But no, it looks interesting. And again, AWA, I think it was Ben that said that this would be eventually created, or at least going to be optioned for some kind of television series, or movie or whatever. So I'd be willing. Like Shot in the Dark, we've already said Vault puts out quality stuff. Batman is Batman. I think just based on my own curiosity, I would pick Red Light as the one that I would add to my pool.
All right. No, I like the justification. And I think a good phrase, sex positive comics. I think that's a good phrase for it. Yeah.
We don't kink shame here. All right.
No.
We don't yuck anyone's yum.
It's a medium that could tell any type of story, even the spicy ones.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, the only thing that I don't like is like the Jungle Fever. Have you guys seen those comics at comic stores?
Jungle Fever.
You know what?
Not a good deal.
Yes. When I used to work at a comic shop, we had I
don't know about this.
Ed, this was like Universal Superhero days. So we had all these books. We used to have
those were in the back.
No, we had a short box on the floor in the corner that had all those books, and Jungle Fever was among them.
Jungle Fever, I gotta look.
Just ask next time you're at the comic shop, Ed. Ask for the variant cover for Jungle Fever and see what they.
Not the Spike Lee movie, not an adaptation of the Spike Lee movie.
No, even though I would probably pay to see that too.
I'm thinking of the Stevie Wonder song right now. Hold on.
Ed, you want to give us your pick? Which one gets your vote of confidence?
You know what? I thought I was going to be the only pervozoid here, but
Pervos unite.
Yes, thank you. A true brother.
With our powers combined.
Pervozoids rollouts.
Pervodroid. I want to echo that sentiment with you because I'm definitely going to pick up that Barbaric, and I love that series as sporadically as it has come out. But I do like the artist. Her name is escaping me. Hold on, sorry.
Oh, the artist is Priscilla
Petras.
Petretas, another Brazilian artist that's killing it.
Oh, so it's going to be awesome inside.
But I do like her work, like Chariot I read and Hit Me I read, and I believe those were both like an all-female creative team. And Hit Me is another kind of like you said, a sex-positive comic. I'm a huge fan of, like I said, everyone's done it. I'm a big fan of pinup art, and like I said, that has such a historical part of comics, that kind of thing, and having an all-female team doing it, that's definitely a cool thing to see. So it can't just be, it's another pervert over here, but I like that kind of stuff. I like the spicy stuff. I even like kind of, like I said, I heavy metal, man. My dad gave me that stack of heavy metal when I was a kid, instead of giving me the Birds and the Beanstalk. It's like, here you go, read this. It's ruin your future relationships forever. But yeah, I have to echo what you said too.
All right, I guess I'm going to toe the company line here. And Batman 139. It's a new story arc, so now I feel pretty good about like being this late, like being this behind with Batman comics, that I could just jump in here and be straight. Even though I'm going to probably take your advice, Chris, and at least read the last story arc. But also a big reason too, I'm looking at the other available covers for this Batman comic. And there is a cover E that features, it is titled Bane McFarlane Toys Action Figure Cardstock Variant. And it is an action figure of Bane and Batman reproducing the infamous
Kelly Jones.
Yeah, Kelly Jones, Bane breaking Batman's bat. Is this going to be a thing where there's going to be like these McFarlane toys?
Yes.
Heck yeah.
There is?
Yeah. Jim Mullen?
It was in the last solicitation, DC previews. Almost every cover from like October to December has a McFarlane action variant.
I am here for that shameless company synergy.
Do you remember
there.
that the brothers at Image? Who's helping who out here?
Man.
Come on, man.
Remember who sits on the throne.
Yeah. That is essentially that Charlie Day meme when it comes to Jim Lee. All right. He's got this conspiracy figured out.
It's not, he had his plan. He's the mastermind.
I was going to say this earlier. I want to quickly say, good men don't lead. I love Jim Lee, but he didn't get to the top on accident.
Okay. With that being said, once again, just a quick little reminder, all of the comic books that Ben has selected this week will be in the show notes. So if you want to take a look for yourself, go in the show notes, check out the previews. They're all fantastic picks. And if any pique your interest, man, do yourself a favor. Go to your local comic shop. Get these comics on your pull list. Or if you want to, shop at one of the best comic shops, not even one of the best comic shop this side of the Mississippi, go ahead and check out GothamCityLimit.com. They got exclusive variants. They got comics for sale on their website. And I'm sure if you wanted to join the Gotham City Limit family, Ben would set you up with a pull and some sort of mailing thing. Don't take my word for it. Because the last thing I need is Ben to be like, hey, man, I can't fucking mail comic books out. I run a comic shop.
I've never done that.
Do you know what flat rate goes for right now? Oh, my God. Can I pull a Cesar really quick and just like fully e-break into something like just completely flip the format and just... So I know how much Botter loves that. That's why I want to do it.
Well, let me ask you. Well, for a minute, I thought you were just gonna do some random voice that no one asked for.
I'm not anywhere near as good as Cesar, isn't that?
That would have been a true Cesar.
Autobots, let's roll out. I can't do it like him.
Let me ask you this, Chris: is it something that you think we should share with the general listeners, or do we save it for Patreon? I'm gonna let you decide.
Okay, yeah, let's tease. I'm gonna tease everyone. Listen, right now, I have a very special recommendation, but head over to patreon.com/the Shortbox podcast.
Cue dramatic music.
URL, the Shortbox.
Bum 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 dun dun.
If you want to hear my recommendation for the Fistful of Comics segment, head on over to
all right, no, I like
Patreon.
that. If you want more, if this wasn't enough, if you're like, yo, I really want to hear what Chris has got to say, then join us over on our Patreon. All right, we're going to stay on the mics for a little longer. We'll do Champion Season. We'll nerd out a little, and we'll just catch up on what we're reading and watching. So if you want to hear that conversation, head over to patreon.com/the Shortbox. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, all of you, for your support. Take care of yourselves. I really mean that. Go read your comic books. I mean that as well. And continue to make mine and your short box. We'll catch you next week. Oh, one more thing before I say peace. Make sure you check out Chris. All right, Chris and Aaron over at the Oblivion Bar podcast. I'm going to have links for their show in the show. I didn't say that because Chris has been on like 3 times now. You already know where to find them, all right? Oblivion Bar podcast. Check them out. Besides that, we'll catch you next week. Peace.